Let's talk a little bit about DoorDash. Now, first of all, DoorDash is very similar to the other fast food delivery services like Uber Eats and Grubhub. However, DoorDash is a little bit different, and if you've never done any of them, it will be a completely new experience for you if you're doing gig work right now. I started out originally by doing uh, Lyft and Uber, and then I moved my way into doing food delivery, including Instacart and Shipt. But this video is all about DoorDash. First of all, to be the best DoorDasher, you need to have a little bit of a strategy when you're going into your job. First of all, you want to be able to work at the appropriate times. Think about it like this. When are people ordering food? Right about dinner, lunch, breakfast. Those are the times in which you're going to need to be available. Another little side tip is if you want to make some really good money and you have the ability to in the middle of the night is actually a pretty good time to work as well. Picking the correct order is really, really important. In this video, I picked an order that I normally wouldn't probably have taken. One of the differences with Uber Eats and DoorDash is that when you select an order on DoorDash, it is going to give you the total miles from your current location to ending the trip. In other words, from your current location all the way through the restaurant as well as back to the customer. So in this example, I took this order because I was going to stay in the same area, but I probably wouldn't have taken this order, but it's because it was only $5. However, I did take it, and we're going to walk through it here real quick. Give you an idea of how it works. It is actually really pretty simple. You accept the order. What I look for on the screen as I am accepting an order is the length of time it's going to take, the distance it's going to take to get me there. And then I'm also keeping an eye on how much I'm making. DoorDash is a little bit tricky because they add a phrase in there that says it could be higher, which means they may not be showing you the full amount that you're actually going to get. It's a way to basically bait you into taking small orders. So I don't ever rely on those extra amounts that they're trying to guarantee or trying to give you. So I urge you to probably do the same. If it says it's going to give you $3.50, that's probably what you're going to get. Once you've selected the order and you're on your way, there really is no reason to contact the customer. As a matter of fact, in my past videos, I've talked about communicating with the customers as a way to increase your tips. However, with DoorDash, the tip is pre-selected, and it is extremely hard to add a tip unless it's cash on DoorDash from a customer standpoint. So there really is no reason to try and gain more tip from the customer. You just want to do a good job from start to finish. Really, the only reason to contact the customer is if there is an issue or a problem within the order. You get to the restaurant, half of the order isn't available, or maybe they're out of a soda or whatever, you would then want to contact the customer. Other than that, you really don't need to contact them. Once you have the order, you want to go ahead and get it to the customer as quickly as possible. Keep in mind, they're watching on their screen. It's giving them updates as to where you are, how long you are out, and when it should arrive. So if you are picking up an order and you decide to stop and get gas, the customer is going to see you sitting at the gas station. So you don't want to do that. You want to be very prepared when you are going to start the work. The other thing that I will say is if you are doing stacked orders, the customers sometimes do not understand that you're doing 2 orders. It's okay to do 2 orders. If I will accept double orders as long as they're at the same restaurant. So occasionally I'll accept them if they're at different restaurants, but not very often. If it's super busy and they're just good priced orders, maybe. But sometimes the customers don't understand that you have another order that you're dropping off. You may want to communicate that to them. That's totally up to you. To use a bag or not to use a bag. I absolutely would use a bag unless I don't have one. They always say to use the DoorDash bag. I have a different bag that I have purchased that I use that keeps everything warm. And I do have another video about that. However, if I don't have a bag, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to just go ahead and get the delivery done. Once you have arrived to deliver the order, you want to take a quick look at the notes. Some notes are going to give you very specific instructions. Some are just going to say, leave at my door. Sometimes people have a very general thing like leave at my door, and then you arrive and it's a business. Obviously, you're not going to leave it at the front door of the business. You're going to walk in that business and say, hey, I have an order for whoever. So, just use your brain when it comes to figuring some of those things out. Most of the time, it is leave at the door. Post pandemic stuff, it is leave at the door most of the time. So, what you want to go ahead and do is just leave it at the door. It will instruct you to take a picture of it at the door. And then looking in the notes, it may tell you to knock or don't knock. Be very cautious about that. If they say do not knock, do not knock. Okay. That's a really good way to get some negative ratings. Most of the time, that's because they have dogs or babies sleeping or something like that. One of the differences about Uber Eats and DoorDash is that on Uber Eats, you can just go online and do your deliveries whenever. DoorDash, you either have to schedule yourself or it has to be very busy. This confused me a lot right off the bat. I thought that I had to schedule myself, and you do not. If you pull up the screen and it shows a gray screen and unavailable to dash, then you can't dash. If you were scheduled for that time slot, it would automatically turn red and allow you to dash. However, most of the time around dinner time, lunchtime, or breakfast, it is going to automatically turn red. Okay. And if this is the only gig you do, you might want to do the scheduling. However, I really never do. I just wait for the screen to turn red and go ahead and dash. It usually gives me a notification as well. If I'm out doing an Instacart order or something like that, it'll come up and say, hey, it's busy in your area. Sometimes I'll go ahead and turn it on and dash now, and then I'll just pause the dash. I have a 35-minute dash pause that I can do. If I'm in the middle of something, but it's red right now, I'll go ahead and do that so that I kind of reserve my spot. Like I said earlier, there really is no way to make additional tips other than cash tips at the door. Most of the orders, like I said, are leave at the door. So you're not going to have any opportunity to wow the customer and have them give you a cash tip. They're either going to give you a cash tip or they're not. So like I said, rely on the number that's on the screen. However, there is a few things that you can do to possibly get an additional tip. And one of them is if you're at the restaurant and it's just taking a little bit longer, it wasn't ready when you got there, go ahead and communicate that with the customer and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I arrived on time, but the order was not ready. A lot of times the customer will write back and say, okay, no worries, thank you, whatever. And occasionally, if it is taking an additional long time, you might say something again to them, hey, I'm still waiting. I'll get there as soon as I possibly can. Sometimes customers will take compassion on you and leave you a cash tip. Not going to guarantee it. Doesn't happen real super often. But that is one way to do it. If you absolutely do not communicate with them at all, and they're just sitting there waiting, they're thinking you're just sitting at the restaurant goofing around. So you want to keep that a line of communication open so that there is a possibility of you getting an additional tip. Okay, one of the other big questions that I always get is whether or not to become a top dasher. I will tell you this. I have done extensive research. I've done thousands of orders, and I've done extensive research on Top Dasher. Top Dasher has some very specific metrics that you have to meet. One of them is 70% of your orders you have to accept. That's 7 out of 10, okay? So you're going to be accepting small junk orders because you're trying to get that number. You also have to keep your ratings up and some other things, which I'll throw up on the screen. However, I will tell you this, when I did Top Dasher stuff, one of the things that they say is you're going to have priority for the better orders. I did exactly the 100 orders that you have to do in the month as a non-Top Dasher, and then the next month I did exactly the same. I worked all the same hours. I did the 100 exact orders, and the numbers came out just a little bit better for being a Top Dasher, but not much. Literally within like $50 for the whole month. Okay. So I will tell you this, when it comes to Top Dasher, I would probably err on the side of not spending the extra time and effort into becoming a Top Dasher, especially if you're doing multi-app, because then you're focused all on just becoming a Top Dasher, and it's just not worth it. Different markets are different. Sometimes it's extremely valuable to be a top dasher in certain markets. However, what I've found in doing this in multiple different markets is usually it is not. If you are just starting out to become a dasher and you really don't have any idea what you're doing, watch this video again. It will help you. And then also reach out to me. My information is in the description below, and I can help you work through some initial challenges. I didn't have anybody to help me when I first started, so it was all trial and error. And I really do wish that I had. So before you sign up, before you get going, give me a jingle on my email, and I'll help you with a few different things. Some of it can actually be pretty valuable to you. So before you sign up, go ahead and give me an email, and I'll walk you through some of that.